Oh, hey. What if I told you that one of the largest, most well-known Bible translation organizations is actually hindering the Bible translation movement? Sound far-fetched? Let me tell you a story. Okay, so for context, a lot of people claim that there's no problem with the Jesus trade because Christian ministries are generous and ready to give free digital copies of their books and resources to those who ask or are in need. So this is part of a series of videos where we test that theory. Now, to set the stage, you should know that I'm a Bible translation consultant, and I spent years in Equatorial Guinea with Wycliffe and SIL doing a variety of things related to Bible translation, including training local Ghanaians in translation principles. So what is that? That's a course that helps orient those who are new to the science and art of translation. And it gives them examples and hands-on practice and solutions to particular challenges of translation and much more. Oh, and by the way, I also have a podcast dedicated to Bible translation, if you're interested. Now, whenever I trained people, I used a textbook written by Catherine Barnwell, which is absolutely excellent. It's called Bible Translation, an Introductory Course in Translation Principles, published by SIL, which stands for the Summer Institute of Linguistics. Now, for those who aren't aware, they're basically this huge global organization that is faith-based. It's a nonprofit. It works with local communities around the world to develop their languages and to expand their possibilities for a better life. Now, they specialize in Bible translation, literacy, and a whole bunch of things. And they've got like 4,000 staff in over 80 countries all around the world. And they're a really big deal in the world of Bible translation. So back when I was in Africa, the PDF of Barnwell's book was freely circulated to whoever really needed one. It was just simply passed back and forth to those who were going to use it. And when a fourth edition of the book came out in English, I was disappointed to see how difficult it was to get a copy in comparison. So since I currently work in Bible translation, I thought, well, let me ask, let's see if they are willing to give me a free copy. And also I had heard that SIL has been busy freeing up many resources under open licenses. So it made sense to ask. So I thought requesting a copy would be effortless, right? Before I share how that went, let me just say that if you haven't seen my video on Crossway, you'll definitely need that for context to get the full picture. Okay, so I write to SIL's global publishing department, and they respond with a vague no, almost as if they didn't really understand what I asked for. And so then I wrote back, and I said, how do you distribute review copies? Could I get a review copy somehow, a PDF perhaps? Thank you. They said that they didn't have a PDF available of the book for distribution and that review copies are offered only to university professors who are getting ready for a course. So I thought, okay, let me test the waters a little bit. I'm going to put myself in the shoes of the millions of people in the world who don't have a credit card and who can't afford a book. This would have been the case with all of the people that I did life with in Equatorial Guinea. Let's see how they will respond to someone who can't afford the book. Let's test it. So I said, thank you. I guess what I was getting at is whether SIL has an option for people in Bible translation who can't afford the price of the book. My apologies for so many questions. I'm not able to afford the book. I'd like to read it. Thank you for understanding. They said, we have some extra copies at the SIL office located in Dallas that we could gift you if you were in the area. Our lowest priced option is the EPUB. Apologies, we aren't able to find a solution for you. It's getting a little bit hot in here. So I said, thanks. So I'm just curious, you guys don't have a PDF version that you can send to those who need it? When I taught translation principles in Equatorial Guinea, I used the first edition of Barnwell's book in Spanish in PDF format that was freely shared with those who needed it. That was a big blessing. Has SIL moved away from that generosity model towards a profit model that is more concerned with selling books than helping those in ministry? I'm just wondering what the philosophy is behind the reticence to help consultants like myself on the field who are doing their best to advance the Bible translation movement. I hope that doesn't sound critical. I'm just trying to understand and be sympathetic. Given the global nature of SIL, it seems strange to limit free copies to only paperbacks for those who live in Dallas. They responded, "Unfortunately, we don't have a PDF of this textbook available to share with you." Now, I also reached out to the author of the book herself for a digital copy, and she recognized me from Aleph with Beth because she has been enhancing her Hebrew with our videos and expressed her appreciation for that. But sadly, she said she was unable to help me. So as a final shot in the dark, I reached out to another friend in the Bible translation world and asked him if he had a digital copy he could share with me, and he did. So I wrote back to SIL, "Thank you for your kindness and patience." I asked around elsewhere and was able to get a digital copy from a friend. Since you guys don't have a PDF of the book, I'm attaching it here so the next time someone needs it like me, you'll have something on hand. Happy to help. They wrote back that the file I had been given was copyrighted and asked me not to share it with anyone. Now, their excuse for selling the book and not giving it away is so that they will have money to pay translators to translate the book into other languages and give away those files. Now, keep in mind that this is an organization that receives around $50 million in revenue each year. And the only people who are likely to buy this book are Bible translators who must raise money or support for their own work. So to be honest, the claim that SIL's publishing department has no PDF of the book is hard to take seriously, given that PDFs in other languages are available online on their website. It stretches credibility. It's more reasonable to assume that they have the file, but don't trust anyone with it because it might get passed around freely against the all rights reserved copyright on it and further the cause of Bible translation, God forbid. But they don't want to appeal to that reason because it might sound paranoid or ungenerous. Now, one of the puzzling things about this interaction is that they never simply blamed their policies for not being able to share it. It would have been easy to say, "Sorry, we didn't make these policies or decide the copyright status. We're just doing our job." The excuse they give is actually very typical in the Jesus trade, which is the sin of partiality described in James 2. But in this case, they treat people differently based on what language they speak. The assumption is that all people who speak English can afford their books, which is why only the English version of their book is denied to those who ask for free access. And as we all know, there are no poor, unemployed, or homeless people in English-speaking countries, right? On top of that, SIL is funded by millions of dollars a year, like I said, given by generous supporters who are trusting them to be wise and good stewards of those donations. But instead of using those donations to give away the knowledge of Bible translation and accelerate the task, they're using those funds to pay people to legally lock down the resource, put it behind a paywall, and refuse to share it with those who ask. Now, is that a wise use of those funds? The claim that they need to sell the book in order to fund the translation of it is a brutal slap in the face to supporters. The obvious answer is use the money donated to your mission to fund those translations just like everything else. Keep in mind that the author herself was funded by donations to write the book, and now she has signed the rights away so that fewer people can have access to it. It's a beautiful view, isn't it? Let's imagine that I go to a church and I ask people to support me on the mission field, and they agree. Then they find out that I've used their money to write a book on how to share the gospel, copyrighted it, put it behind a paywall, and now refuse to share it with my colleagues, friends, or even the supporters themselves. When they ask why, I say I need the money to fund my work on the mission field, of course. So how should a supporter respond to that? By withdrawing their support and funding those who are truly freely giving ministry as Jesus commanded. Okay, so there's actually a parable about this kind of insanity. Remember when Jesus talks about the ungrateful servant? SIL is doing the same thing described in Matthew 18. God, their master, is showering them with funds freely given by his people. And in their ingratitude, they are refusing to freely give a tiny digital file that costs them nothing to send. Look, this is one of the reasons why the Bible still hasn't been translated into all the languages that need it. SIL, either through incompetence or illogical licensing choices, is hindering those who want to learn how to translate the Bible. If this is how they treat a fellow Bible translation missionary and former member, they will treat anyone else the same. I find it especially sobering and staggering that Crossway gave me a $120 ebook with almost no fuss in comparison to what I went through to not even get a copy from a Bible translation organization. But this is what tens of millions of dollars of donor funds is supporting. Just to be clear, there are many people in SIL I love and respect who are doing phenomenal work, and they probably hate that this kind of mentality exists within the org as much as I do. But you have to ask yourself, what exactly are they trying to accomplish at SIL? The writing and publishing of the book was all covered by generous donations by people in good faith, trusting that SIL would be a good steward and use it to accelerate the work of Bible translation instead of putting obstacles in the way of the mission. Permission and paywall culture is contrary to the way of Christ when it comes to ministry. It's also ridiculous. It entangles the Great Commission. It is completely counterproductive for the church, the truth, and the work of Bible translation. Legally chaining and paywalling a guide to Bible translation is a particularly ugly sin. It embarrasses Christians before a watching world, compromises our sincerity, and keeps believers around the world from translating the Bible. We'll just never know how many have been hindered by this until we get to heaven. Let us instead throw off every encumbrance and the sin that so easily entangles, like permission culture and copyright and selfishness, and let us run with endurance the race set out for us. And let us fix our eyes on Jesus, who said, "Freely you have received, freely give."